I grew up in Medina County, Ohio, the Lodi Amish community, in a Swartzentruber Amish family. I had 14 siblings, 8 sisters, and 6 brothers. And we had a very close-knit family. There was a lot of love and care in my family growing up. We were dairy farmers. My dad also had pigs and all of that. We loved the dairy farming part of it. We also did maple syrup. Us girls would go out in the woods and would help gather the maple syrup and cook it, and that was a very enjoyable thing in our childhood. We also did gardening. We sold vegetables, and my dad had a good-sized orchard, especially for being an Amish, and we really enjoyed that part of it. We had lots of apples and peaches and lots of different fruits, and he had grapevines, and we had blueberries, not blueberries, but blackberries and strawberries and raspberries. And I went to an Amish one-room schoolhouse, which was on our property, so I never got to experience going away from home to go to school, really. Like, we went over to the schoolhouse, which was not really, it was a separate, little area, but it felt so much at home. I always felt like, people that got to go farther had the fun of like walking to school and back home, and but then the others were like, oh, you're so spoiled, you get to just run across the garden and you're back in your house. So it's all what, sometimes you look outside of what you have and you want what others have. Well, your own experience is the best. But yeah, we had I had a very loving father. I could never have asked for a better parents that I had. They were very ordered. They had a lot of, there was discipline, but it was out of love. It was never like this harshness. My dad was not very spiritual. He's more just focused on the rules of the church and not so much, spiritually. We did the morning and evening prayer, which was scripted, reading out of a prayer book, but every once in a great while, he would talk about a Bible story, but that was usually connected to the rules of the church. Because of this Bible story, this is why we need to obey the rules of the church and focus on what our forefathers taught them and so on, instead of directing us to Jesus. I got baptized or sprinkled in the Amish church, and they gave us some classes, but I still didn't have enough knowledge from the Bible to when, after we were married for 8 years and we started reading the Bible, that's when I got to actually know that Jesus is my Savior. I read the Bible in High German as a kid and, growing up and all of that, but if you just read it so you know the words, it doesn't mean anything, and that's basically what we did. And I read about Jesus, but to me, he was no different than Peter or John the Baptist and all of them. So when we started studying the Bible later in life, I realized, I went through the motions and through the words of it when I was sprinkled in the Amish church, but I didn't even know him. So that's one thing that, our family had all the love and all the tight-knit and all of that, but there was not really a spiritual aspect of it. So me and John, my husband, went to school together for 6 years. We lived neighbors since we were toddlers. Our family moved in from a different community when I was like 3 years old. And then we went to school together, and when we were I was 17 years old, we started dating. We're not allowed to go home and visit my parents anymore, since we made the choice to leave the church in order to follow Christ wherever he goes. And so, yeah, that's they cut that off, but and everybody did. It's just in the last several months that my one sister came around and now doesn't shun anymore.
I grew up in in an Amish community in Medina County, Ohio, better known as the Lodi Amish community there in Ohio. And yeah, my dad was a dairy farmer, and we got up 4:30 in the morning, got the cows in, fed the cows, fed all the animals, milked about 12 to 20 cows by hand. And my dad also was a painter, so we did custom painting, mostly residential and agriculture. Did a lot of agriculture fencing, and I remember my dad being on one side of the fence and I'm on the other side of the fence, and we're spraying towards each other. And if we were painting black, we were blacks by the evening, black Amish. And if we were painting white, we were like glossy white. So we've always wore full masks and, covered ourselves really good, but we still had a little bit of, black eyes and white eyes. So it was an interesting upbringing. But his main income, that was just a side job. His main income was dairy farming. So we did everything with horses. No tractors, no combines, no running water, no electricity. So it was, we tried to have all our chores done by 7 o'clock in the morning. We went in, ate breakfast, and then we went out in the wintertime. We went out chopping wood. Love chopping wood. No chainsaws, all cross cuts, bow saws. Me and my dad had a lot of fun. Me and my dad and my brother out in the woods just cutting firewood. And we would cut it in tree length, or if the tree was too long, we'd chop it up in whatever length that two guys could handle it. And we stack it on a what we would call pole pile. And we build this big pile of just poles. And then one day we would come in with a big bus saw with like a 36 or a 40-inch circular saw with about a 20 to 30 horsepower engine running it. And we push all those trees through there and chop it up in short 16-inch pieces. And one guy, I remember being as a little kid, I was the one that was on the saw side throwing it away. Probably one of the most dangerous places to be, but my dad was real serious to make sure that we know what is safe and what's not. Never lost any fingers. None of my family members. We always, which that happens a lot in the Amish. Dad was very, very much about safety. And so just loved doing that. We did maple syrup in the springtime. And so as far as how our life was, so we would get up at 4:30 in the morning, feed the cows, milk the cows, and then we would go in like 6:30 or so, we would go in to eat breakfast. But before we would eat breakfast, we would always have kind of like a morning worship, but it was more like a prayer, but it was a scripted prayer. And so my dad would do, most of the time he would do one prayer. It was just one prayer that he mostly did all the time, every morning, over and over. But he also, he was a little different than most Amish. That's what most Amish do. It's the same prayer every morning for 85 years, however long they live. But my dad wasn't quite like that. There was one main prayer he always did, but he also changed it off. And the very interesting thing is, some of our ancestors were Sabbath keepers. And in that prayer book, so they have a prayer for Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Monday morning, Monday evening, every day of the week. And when it comes to Saturday, the seventh day, it calls it the Sabbath. And that this day is blessed and that it is holy. And I remember I always was so confused. Why would this be in the prayer book when we keep Sunday? So that was something that I always really just kind of had a little question about, but never really actually questioned it. That prayer, which normally was about 10, 15-minute prayer, and nobody else would pray but Dad. We would all just, go, on our knees and we'd pray. And then we'd go eat breakfast. We'd never eat breakfast before we pray. We'd always pray. And then, of course, at the table, another thing my dad did that most Amish don't do is he did a loud verbal meal prayer, like a blessing for the food. Most Amish do silent prayers for food. But my dad didn't. Not unless there was visitors there. If it's just us kids, he would always verbally say the blessing for the food. And so, then right after breakfast, just really depended on the time of the year. If it was springtime and ready to start plowing, we would go out and brush all the horses down. Sometimes we were brushing down 12 horses and harnessing up 12 horses and go out with 2 pairs of 6-horse hitches, and either me and my brother or me and my dad, and we just spent the day. We plow from like 8 o'clock in the morning till, by the time you get all those horses brushed and harnessed and hitched and out in the field, about 8:30. And you plow until about 11:15, 11:30, and then you go back in to feed the horses and eat your own lunch. And by 1 o'clock, we tried to be back out in the field. And we work in the field with the horses until about 4:30. And we'd go back in and put the horses in the stall. And by that time, it was time to get the milk. And the cows need to be milked on time every morning and every evening. So we would hardly ever that we would unharness the horses before we get to the cows. We'd normally get the cows milked, and then one of us boys would go and start pulling harnesses off the horses, and they all had their specific spot in the barn, and tack was all in order. Horses all knew where they were supposed to be. It was a beautiful, orderly thing. It was just a routine. The cows knew the routine. The horses knew the routine. It's a beautiful life for the most part. And then, if it was winter, we'd be cutting wood during the day. If it was summertime, if hay season was coming in, or we, cultivating corn or hay, whatever season we were doing, we always tried to be in the field by 8 o'clock or 8:30. And we always have to be back in by 4:30, 5 o'clock to start getting ready for milking cows. The latest would have been 5:30. We couldn't go past 5:30, or it was just getting too late to milk the cows. I mean, you still milk the cows if it got later, but you want to try to stay really on time with the cows. So, and that was my whole growing up experience. Another thing that the Amish do a lot is once you are through 8th grade and you have an extra hand on the farm, like let's say for us, we didn't really have an extra hand, but my dad was very charitable, I guess would be the right word to put in there. And so my second oldest brother bought a place, and he needed to build a shop, a barn. He needed to do a lot of work on his house, a lot of dirt that had to be moved, and they're not allowed to bring in dozers and stuff. So he sent me down to my brother to help him out. So I was like my brother's hired hand. And so that was in my growing up years, probably like 15 years old, 14, 15. I experienced a lot in building and just moving dirt, experienced something outside farm life during that time in just helping my brother build his shop and different things, and his barn, and so he had construction crews there. So I would go there. He's like 18, 19 miles away from our house, so I would go there and I'd stay there for 6 weeks straight. I wouldn't go back home. I would sleep there, eat up, just be like his son during that time. So that was a really interesting experience for me. Not every Amish boy gets that experience. Some boys, they get more of that experience. Normally that's something that is really, really dreaded, to go and work outside on another farm. Sometimes it's not that they're building, sometimes it's just a young guy starting up a farm, and this farmer has maybe 4, 5, 6 boys at home, and this other farmer is a young farmer trying to make payments, and and he needs help, and so he'll pay. And this pay, what these guys get paid, is very, like, the boys don't see the money, but the dad does. See, the Amish kids don't see their money until they're 21. They don't get paid a dime until they're 21. So any money they bring in until they're 21 goes to their parents. And so an Amish, this was back in my day, a hired boy's wages on a farm like that was around $10 to $12 a day. A hired girl was anywhere from $3 to $10, depending if you're like, when we had my wife's sisters work for us, it was like, I think it was $4 a day, $4 or $5 a day, sometimes as low as $3 a day. But we had one that we paid $10 a day, and we thought that was like almost like daylight robbery. And now I look back and I'm like, this is insane. It's slavery. But this part of community is really what brings this together. And these kids that are doing this know if they continue in the community, they will have that same benefit when they grow up and have a family. They'll get that same thing. So it's not like one person is hawking all the benefits. It's something that, if you stick around, that's going to be passed down to you as well. And so I'm sure, it's 10 years since we've left, almost 10 years, and it's really changing. So I'm sure that a lot of the things have increased, on some of these wages that we have not kept up with. But so my education was in a one-room schoolhouse, and me and my wife now, we went in the same school room. She was 2 grades behind me, and so yeah, and that went from 1st grade to 8th grade in that one-room schoolhouse. So we learned English. They don't teach any Pennsylvania Dutch. Everything is in English, and once you get to 4th grade, is it 3rd grade maybe? I don't remember, maybe it's 5th grade. I don't remember, either 3rd or 5th grade, you start learning High German. We already knew a lot of the High German because my dad was really serious that we learn how to read High German, because that's what the Bibles we were reading in was in High German. So, but yeah, everything. So our math is in English, and then we actually have an English class, like the English books, we work those. Spelling, reading, writing, English, math. I think that was pretty much it. And then 7th and 8th grade for our reading, we actually read out of the New Testament in High German. So that was the 7th and 8th grade reading was in High German. Out of the, we would start in Matthew and read the Gospels, and I don't remember where we would get to, just however far we would get back to until the end of the school year. Normally school started there in Ohio. We started in, later part of September? And we went till about first part. We had a certain amount of days that we had to put in. And so, yeah, those one-room schoolhouses, private schools, is something that the Amish really fought for. Back in the day, a lot of teachers and people were put in prison because, or jail, because they were not applying to the state laws and stuff. And so, yeah, that's where I first got a glimpse of, or how should I say, it's where I got a crush on my wife. Now, my wife now. I think she was in 3rd grade and I was in 5th grade, and I thought, wow, I hope that could be at some point my wife. So, and here we are. So we grew up neighbors together, neighbors with each other. We lived like 2 miles apart from each other. And yeah, we went to school 6 years.
Yes.
And together, she was 2 grades behind me. And then, you know, we got the age of dating, what the Amish consider appropriate for dating, is 17 years old. She turned 17, and a few months later, we started dating. I was 18, she was 17. And then 4 years after that, we got married. And then how many years was it until we left?
It was 8 years.
8 years after we were married. We saw that the Amish tradition was not a Christian life. They say the rules of the church is what saves us. And this is specifically the Swartz and Truber Amish group. There's so many different groups of Amish. Some Amish, I do believe, are Christian, more so, especially. But our group was, yeah, definitely. You can't be saved just by Christ. You've got to go through the rules of the church, and that is the only way to the Father in their eyes. So we saw that wasn't lining up with the Bible, and we ended up leaving. And pretty soon we noticed that there's a really high need for practical, hands-on education. We've seen that a lot of these kids, now I'm exposed. I had a business, construction business, and I noticed that I'm bringing in people. I put in like that people could apply for a job for my business, and there were people that were applying for, like, I don't know what they call that, like internship or something like that, and they went through college for construction. But just interviewing these people, I noticed, even though they went through college, I won't be able to work with them, because it's just the way they think and the way I think. It's just they never had any practical skills, and they come out here and they think they know everything, and I can't even teach them. You can't teach anybody if they think they know everything. So we saw that just hands-on education is very important. And another thing we saw is this mindset of these kids coming out here like this is because of the disconnection from their parents. So we just saw that there's a big need for family connections, family working together, and where is a better place to do that than at home on a farm, homesteading, gardening, even if it's just on weekends, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever you can make it happen with your schedule. So for a long time, we were just like, yeah, you know, we didn't really feel that we are qualified to have a ministry. You know, we saw there's a need for it, but we didn't want to do it. And then we kind of wanted to do it, but we still didn't feel qualified for it. And then about 3 years ago, we just really got a strong impression that we need to move forward with this. And I always, all these years, I wanted to do it on my own finances, on my own planning and everything. And about 3 years ago, the Lord just really took me down and said, it's not on me, because this ministry is for Him. And I noticed I'm not going anywhere with it because I'm barely keeping my own family on their feet. And so...
and at the same time, I had the same convictions. So it was very interesting that, you know, it came to him, and right at the same time, I felt the same calling from the Lord.
And we didn't I didn't even talk to her about it. The convictions, the voice I heard, I wouldn't talk to anybody about it because it was so humiliating. In the culture we come from, you have what you earn. You don't dare going out there and raising funds for anything. Like, that is considered begging. And you know, we come from a culture where evangelist is not a thing. They're not allowed to evangelize. And so, you know, if it's the Lord's will, it's the Lord's bill. And yeah, it was very humiliating for us to step into that new conviction that we had. Now, everybody that knew me knew that I was actually against self-supporting ministries because I thought they're just out there begging for money, and I thought they're into it just for the money. And I wanted to do this as a blessing to the people. And I realized once I had that conviction, and I finally shared it with her, and then we noticed, well, we ain't gonna go anywhere if we just keep it amongst us ourselves. So we started talking to other people in self-supporting ministries and just heard their struggles and heard their testimonies on how they came about. And you know, I was talking to one guy that he said he went into it for the money. That's what he went into it. And he's still in ministry. His ministry's struggling, but he said that is something that he's really trying to recover from, is because that's what he went in for. And he sees that's not right. It's not right for him to do that. And he doesn't want to do it. He's trying to, you know, change his mind and pray that God would help him change that. So anyways, it's just interesting to hear all these different people pouring into us with their experience and everything. And so we were looking for farms. You know, we didn't have anything set up, so we just kind of talked to people. And there were farms that came up for sale, and we really wanted to get back to Ohio. And so there was a really nice farm that went up for sale, had all the buildings on we needed, and it was going on auction. And I called a few people, and they said, well, you know, raising the money would be totally doable if it's the Lord's will, but you need to have, you know, you need to have a structure. You need to have a website. People need to trust that the money that they're dumping into this is actually going for a ministry and not just you making up this money for yourself. And so it was just not enough time, and just went from one thing to another. We looked at a lot of different places in a lot of different states. And then one day we get a call from a friend of ours, and they said, we need to go to the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in D.C. in Maryland. And I said, well, we don't have the funds to do that right now. He wanted us to go over there and share a testimony at the General Conference. And I said, we don't have the money to do that. And he didn't take that as a no. He kept begging me, and I told him like 5 times no. And finally he said, what would it take to get you over there? And I said, well, if I figured up how much, because we travel with our own van, so with the gas, figured out how many miles it was over there, approximately how much fuel we would use, hotel rooms, you know, the meals we would have. I said it was probably about $1,500. And he said, I'll pay that for you. You need to come over there, because he was going there and he had some other people going there. Ended up, she and a couple of the younger kids couldn't go. Me and the 4 oldest went, and we met a guy there, Jeremy Serrato, and he introduced us to Scott Moore here at Bear Inn, that owns or has this property leased, in charge of this property. And he said, you need to get in contact with Scott, because we shared our vision, our story, what we want to do. And he's like, it's a great vision, great calling. You need help. But he said, I'm not capable of getting you the resources. And so we started talking to Scott, And Scott kept wanting to bring us out here on this property, Echo Valley property here. And we kept saying, no, it's not what we want. It's not enough tillable land. It's too far back in the boonies. I have a strong conviction for myself that if we have a message for the world, we shouldn't be tucked back in the mountains. The time will come that we will have to flee for the mountains, but right now I have a strong conviction. If we have a family that is orderly and we have a message to tell to the world, that we should be out on the street, not on the street, but out by the road where, the local people see how we function. And so anyways, we finally, after after a good year or so, we finally told them that we finally felt like we had to go somewhere to start. And every place that every avenue we were looking at, we needed funds to even make it happen. And here, we could just move on here, and there's a little bit of land here. And so that's what we did. First thing we did was, before we even moved here, we came out here and got all the trees cut back from the overgrown fields out here and plowed it, put a cover crop in, and we didn't grow anything last year except for a cover crop. We were doing Bible studies to the soil, preparing the soil to plant the seed. And so that's what we did last year. And so our vision is to have a place big enough land to where we can grow fruits, like berries and vegetables, and then grain. We could grow some nuts, that'd be great, but I'm not very knowledgeable on nuts, so it's probably something we won't start. But grains is something, I grew up grain farmer. Like, we grew up a dairy farmer, but there's grains, there's corn, there's wheat, there's oats, there's barley, there's soybeans, all these things, all these grains. I grew up farming. And those are things that are very easy to sustain for years. And I mean, we can live off of wheat if we didn't have anything else but just wheat, we could live off of that for quite some time. And we know that, the buying and selling is going to be a serious one. And vegetables and fruits, you can only preserve, so long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But if you get grain in a good sealed container and you store it in a cool, dark place, you can keep that for a long time. I mean, we used to keep grain just upstairs in our barn in a granary for 2 years, and it didn't turn bad. It wasn't sealed at all. It's just in a dry place, really, and it was mostly dark there. So, of course, you wouldn't want to go out there and scoop off the top for human consumption. I mean, there was always mice and rats, that were in and out. So
you would definitely want to preserve it in a airtight, in a different way for human consumption,
yeah.
So that there's no, bugs and nothing in it. Yeah.
But it's just a example on. And so that is one thing we really want to do. And then there's so many Christ object lessons we can pull from grain farming. I feel like it's just more than vegetable farming, because how do we harvest a grain? There is a shaking that needs to take place to get the grain separated from the chaff. And so that shaking is something that we see happening today in the church. And it's not just the chaff that is being shaken. The grain is being shaken right along with the chaff. And I really want to demonstrate, and I want to have like a big camp meeting or invite people to come and experience and visually see this process that it takes from separating the chaff from the grain. And then the grain goes out here and the chaff goes, on a separate pile. And the wicked are like the chaff on a thrashing floor. And I want to do a whole demonstration of the destruction of the wicked at the end of time with that chaff. And just those are the visions on the things we want to grow.
Obviously, we want to do vegetables because, you know, we eat a lot of vegetables and fruits as a family, and it's important to know how to grow your own vegetables and fruits.
And preserve them.
And preserve them. There's a lot of fruits that you can or dehydrate and keep them for a good long time. And also, you can freeze while you have access to electricity, which I do that some now. But I know if I didn't have a freezer, I wouldn't be stuck. I could can and do other ways of, you know, preserving. So we do have a garden that we grow our own vegetables, and we're growing extra to sell this year too.
Yeah, and as far as preserving, whether it's a fridge or canning, there's fridges and freezers out there that the Amish make, and I'm, if somebody wants to purchase them, I'm dealer with this company. They run off of a 12-volt battery and just a little solar panel. They're very, very efficient.
So if somebody lives out in the country and doesn't even have electricity, you can use those with just a little bit of solar power, and it's very, very efficient.
Runs off of a 12-volt battery.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you can run your car during the day and take your battery out of your car and run your fridge, and, you know, keep your battery. If you don't want to do solars, you know, it's so efficient. It's amazing.
I really like to be able to sew my own clothes. So if there comes a time where I can't buy my clothes, and even if I can buy my clothes, there's certain things that are just better if we can make them ourselves. And it's a very good skill to have, to know how to make your own clothes. We don't make all the clothes we wear, but we could. I could make everything. It's not that I don't know how. It's just, you know, sometimes life gets busy, and it's just better to go and buy certain pieces, but it's still good to be able to make your own clothes. That way, you know, sometimes it's hard to find modest clothes, and you can always make that yourself. Yeah.
Another thing that she really is really good at in her sewing is the neatness. You know, we have people that come up to us in different events that we go to, and we have young ladies, you know, married women that come up to us, and they're like, "You're modest, but you're neat." And we want to be modest, but everybody that we are surrounded with, if they want to try to be modest, they become sloppy. And we don't want to be sloppy, so we're just not modest. And some of them start weeping. They break out in tears, and they're like, we want to be modest and we want to be neat. And so I think that those two things really go together. If we're representing Christ, we need to be neat. We need to be modest. We need to, whatever your hands find to do it with your might. And that can mean like aggressively work, or that can mean do it neatly.
And the Bible does speak about neatness and beauty, and I think that comes with the beauty of God, while your clothes are nice and neat.
So that's another class we really want to do. So we want to do homemaking, or what's that, a garden?
Yeah, homemaking is one.
So homemaking, that's another thing that you're going to teach as class, just on how we do homemaking, how we do family. And then the sewing, and then the food preserving, and then the farming. I'm going to do mostly, she's going to help me with that too, but mostly I'm going to be more doing on the farming, how to prepare the soil to plant, you know, put your seeds into good soil. We don't want rocky soil. We don't want thorns choking out our plants. We don't want to put it just on the road. We want to plant our seeds in good soil. And how can we prepare the soil to be healthy? Because the soil is just like us human beings. It just wants to grow weeds if we don't train it to grow something good. Our lives, we're born, and the first thing our kids want to do is throw a fit. And we have to train that child to do the right thing. Same way with the soil. Everything that's in us is also in the soil. Every mineral, every I can't think of the right word to put in there, but we're created from the soil. We are the soil. We are soil. And so we function the same way as the soil functions. And so the soil needs to be trained just like us. And
it's very healthy to get out there and get your hands and your feet in the soil, get dirt under your fingernails that can be washed out, and that's very healthy.
Yeah. And so that's another class we want to teach on how to prepare your soil, how to plant, just grow. It's kind of like the farming class. And then I also want to do like construction, because we all live in homes. We all have structures that we need, and we can always hire somebody to come out and build. That's one reason. That is the main reason we moved to Tennessee, was because everybody and their neighbors are moving into the state of Tennessee, it seems like, and so there's just a lot of push for construction workers down here, and a company just kind of drug us down here. We told them we don't want to come down here, but they kind of twisted my arm until we finally came down here. And so, yeah, those are the 5 classes: the farming, the construction class, and then the sewing class, the wood preserving, and the homemaking. And the homemaking kind of includes homeschooling too, right?
Maybe a little bit. I haven't really committed to do a lot of homeschooling, teaching on homeschooling, but I'm totally willing to do what is needed. Yeah.
And so
I think you said wood preserving instead of homemaking. Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
Did I say wood preserving?
Yeah. It's okay.
Food preserving, and then woodworking, like construction. Yeah, right now we know we won't stay on this property. It's not enough. We're not at home here. We know there's some family members that are making a step, and they really could use our help in another state. And so right now we are really looking for a small farm in another state. If we can, if there's a way if we can find the funds to do that, we would really like to move there and continue with this ministry, but be there for these Amish people that are looking to move out. We want to be there to help them transition and walk in the new light that they have received. So if you want to know more about our ministry, you can go to amishhomesteading.com, and that's our website, and you can there's an email on there. You can email us. There's a phone number. You can call us, leave a message.
You can also sign up for the classes online. Yes. if you want to do that.
We have not put dates on those on the website yet, and we're still trying to figure out how this is all set up. But if somebody wants to go on there and sign up for a class and just reach out, and we can try and just work together and see how we can come up with the dates that work for everybody for the time being. But at some point we want to get dates down for each class, and so people can book on those dates and be more efficient. So.
My favorite thing about the farm is probably gardening and our faith needs to grow just like the plants in our garden.
My favorite part about the farm is plowing the fields and getting ready to plant, because it really reminds me of how God is willing to come into my life and uproot or plow the sins that are deeply rooted into my heart.
My favorite part about the farm is probably the animals, and I'm reminded of how we take care of the animals. God also takes care of us.
What I like best about farming is to see the fruits of my labor, like watching the plants come up and then harvesting the vegetables.
So my favorite part about the farm is riding and driving horses, and I like working in the garden.
I love cooking and baking from the stuff that we grow in the garden, and because it makes me happy.
I love mowing and weed eating because it helps clean up the farm. I like riding tractors, and my name is Junior, and I'm doing it out, and I like riding tractors.